Speaking of Liverpool, let's have a word on them. Merson, I'll come to you first. Unbeaten so far this season. 6 wins in a row, all competitions. Second in the Premier League, just 2 points behind Manchester City. Are they now looking like the biggest threats to City this season?
I think the biggest threat to Man City are themselves, if I'm being honest. I just don't see anybody touching them. I think we're getting to a stage where last week we're looking at Arsenal with a second, unbeaten, still unbeaten now. In a couple of weeks' time, they play Man City at home. If they get beat, they're out. For me, they're out the title race already. They'll be 7 points behind Man City. That would be miles too many points. If I said to you at the start of the season, who do you think, Man City or Arsenal? But you've got to give Man City 7 points at start. I mean, then there'll only be 30 games left. So Liverpool, Man City, the way they are and the squad they've got, have made it very difficult for teams with no slip-ups. But fair play to Liverpool. I think Liverpool have the firepower to go all the way, but I don't think they got the squad. I don't think defensively, a couple of injuries here and there. I watched them at Wolves the other week, and at half-time, if they were playing a top-draw team, they would have been blown away first half, and there wouldn't have been no comeback. So that's their problem. But fair play to them. You just got to try and stick with Man City as long as you can, and like Arsenal did, and try and get to the last 8 games of the season.
I mean, Liverpool, we know, were well off it last season compared to previous campaigns, Sue. Missed out on the top 4. But on the evidence so far, Klopp talks about in the past his mentality monsters. Are they back?
Well, he's talking about Liverpool too, isn't he? And I think you can see that. You can see the intensity, the energy that they're playing at, and that mentality monster that he's spoken about previously, and we've all spoken about it. I think it's 4 out of their 7 games where they've had to come from behind. So they've showed that real sort of character and that real resilience to come back. I totally agree with Merson in terms of the firepower that they've got. Got 5 quality players for 3 positions. They've obviously had to rebuild that midfield area, but they've done it probably quicker than a lot of people thought they would. So I think that's a huge boost. But you just look at the quality that they do have in attack, that they can bring players on. If things aren't quite working, they can change things. And when they do change things, they have a positive impact. So I think that's a huge sort of boost. Yes, defensive issues, you could say. But I don't think it's just about the defence. I think it's about the units. I think it's about pressing from the front. I think it's about the midfield, getting used to the way that Klopp wants to play. They obviously then protect the back line. So I think it's a combination. But at the moment, it's certainly a real positive start for Liverpool.
We've just seen some of their best goals this season so far. And I mentioned to Sue 6 wins in a row. And as she said, 4 of those were coming from behind. Most notably, Rob, at Newcastle. Van Dijk had been sent off after, 28 minutes, and yet they came from behind at St James's Park and they won the game. Was that maybe the game where something clicked this season for Liverpool?
It did click, but the worry was still, in that game, I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, Newcastle is still comfortable. There's no way they're going to come back here. But for some reason, Darwin Núñez turned up, which about time, because there's so many games that he's been poor. But he turned up in that game, and I think that's the shift. I think the key is for them is they've got everybody fit right now. I know Trent and Thiago are missing, but I mean in the attack, because when they don't have that, they seem to struggle. They seem to struggle when they haven't got anything off the bench to come off the bench and contribute with goals. You see Jota come off the bench, bang. You see Gakpo come off the bench. Núñez, like in the Newcastle game, bang. So. What they do have is firepower. The biggest worry is defensively. For the games, they've had to come from behind. And the West Ham game, West Ham had 2 headers they should have scored from. They could have been 2-0 down in that game as well. So the big worry, I think, for Jurgen Klopp is, for example, if we lose Van Dijk, they've already got Trent, who's been missing for a few games. But if Van Dijk goes down and he's missing for a period of time through injury, not suspension, that's a big factor. And I worry for them in that instant. But Arsenal, I think, are the biggest challenges because what they've proved in the last year. I think right now, with momentum, Liverpool is now starting to get on par with with Arsenal.
What about you, Glenn? Arsenal or Liverpool? Right now, who looks the biggest threat to City?
When I look at Liverpool, I think it's been a brilliant start. Like we say, they've come from behind on numerous occasions. I think that's a problem in itself, and it could be a problem going forward when you when you gloss that up, it's 6 wins on the spin. They've got a new midfield. They've got a squad that's still moulding together and getting used to each other. Yes, it's more balanced, but I still think that Arsenal are just ahead. I think they're probably more advanced in their progression, in their philosophy and what their manager wants to do. So for me, Arsenal are going to be the ones, but by the looks of it, second place is going to be the most exciting race.
It is shaping up that way. I mean, you know, you think about the Liverpool recruitment over the summer, Danny, and they focused on the midfield, didn't they? Because obviously lost a lot of players, not the defence, as Rob was suggesting. Have they recruited enough? Great start, yes, but to keep that going throughout the season on all fronts?
I think they've had a comfortable start in the teams that they've played against so far. Okay, Newcastle maybe being one of the only exceptions, a team that you'd expect maybe to be in the top 6. But I think they punched above their weight, you know, Newcastle last season. Defensively is going to be their problem. I think they kept 1 clean sheet, you know, so far. And when you're playing teams that you maybe expect to be in the bottom half of the table and you're having to come from behind, I think as Merson might have said off air, you know, when we were chatting before, you can't keep coming back against good teams like that. Good teams will put you to the sword. You'll be 2 or 3 down and you'll be done and dusted. You know, you won't get that opportunity to get back in it. So I can't see anybody else apart from Man City. You can only, if you're going to win the league, you can afford to lose maybe 4 games a season. That's it. You know, and I know Liverpool have had a great start, but City haven't been playing well, and they're still unbeaten at the moment. Everybody's behind Manchester City. That's it.